this is how I would set up the truck. I just love this thing with the roof rack on here. So let's get into the details on it. So obviously you got your slant back here, whole thing's in Kevlar, and let me open this thing up. Hey guys, welcome back to another vlog. Ryan Wilson here from Predator Inc. Thanks for watching. Got a really cool truck behind me. It is probably one of my favorite trucks that we've built. Now we've built some amazing trucks, some trucks I would say, really cool stuff on there. This one's pretty straightforward. It's a Duramax truck. However, a couple reasons why this one's my personal favorite. It is woodland green to start with. However, we did a change up on it. Instead of just a standard woodland green color, we did the Kevlar woodland green, which is a textured finish, super rugged material on the outside. As you can see, it has kind of a abrasive look, but the cool thing about this stuff is that Kevlar base to it makes it very, very strong. So you can run this through heavy bush, trees, all kinds of stuff, take on scratches, and it really doesn't show any scratches. And whereas like if it's a traditional paint job, you would see that. Now, woodland green happens to be my favorite color out there because my first Hummer back, well, shoot, probably 23 years ago or so was woodland green. It was a wagon. It was a 93 wagon that I bought from Jim Lynch out of Missouri, and really cool guy. He had the biggest Hummer dealership out there. He sold more Hummers than I think most dealerships combined. So got my Hummer from him, woodland green. It just happens to be my favorite, especially with all the black accessories on here, black rims. We'll go over that in a minute. But the other reason too is the slant back. It happens to be one of my favorites. So come on back here, take a look at this. Now this is a 4-door hardtop with the slant back kit on there. So you can see this is just like a cap that goes on there, like a camper shell. Same theory here. So you have your cabin space up there that is separated from the back, and then it gives you a lockable area in the back. Also on this, just the silhouette of this truck is just iconic. If you look at that whole silhouette line of it, that has like the original AM General logos with the slant back. Granted, they had the military whip antennas back here. I'm not a big fan of those just because they kind of get in the way. They usually pinch off here and do some damage here. We can definitely work around that so you don't have that. However, then you gotta convert those over from, I believe they're UHF to VHF or like a CB antenna. It can be done. They're not ideal. There are other CB antennas and VHF antennas that are better for like ham radio stuff, but it can be converted over if you want to use those military whip antennas. I would say that's probably pretty cool to do, but personally, this is how I would set up the truck. I just love this thing with the roof rack on here. So let's get into the details on it. So obviously you got your slant back here, whole thing's in Kevlar, and let me open this thing up. This is a Duramax converted truck that we did, I want to say like 8, 9, 10 years ago. It's quite a few years ago. Did the conversion for him. He's been running it at his ranch for quite a few years, and he's like, you know what, let's just do a full makeover on it. I'm not going to touch anything on the engine, but let's just dial the whole truck in. So we put the slant back on it, painted it. We also did the bed liner on the inside here, as well as the door. And then you can now see the whole area, cabin space here, which is pretty cool. It gives you a lockable area back here. And then, kind of starting off backwards here, what we've got are Viper rear bumper. This is a 16,500 pound winch, which is overkill for this truck, but still pretty cool. It's a Warren winch. It fits inside of here. Now this differs from our standard search and rescue bumper because it has this protrusion on the back here that kind of sticks out, and the reason for that is to give you extra space for that massive 16.5 winch from Warren. And then we have the built-in shackles here. Again, my favorite, I've said it before, I really like the forged steel shackles over the aluminum shackles. Aluminum are great if you have a straight pole, but when are you gonna ever be in like a perfect scenario you have a straight pole on it? You're not going to. Most of the time you're gonna be ripping this thing off to the side or something weird. So this just gives you a lot more strength. It's not gonna flex like the aluminum would and potentially pop off the little clevis pin. And then we have the flush mounted lights here. This customer went with Baja Designs. We run the rigids as well as Baja. We can run whatever you want to, but in our opinion, the Baja Designs as well as the rigids are some of the best. Great warranties, great companies, the light output's amazing out of it, and best of all, they're all made in the United States for the most part. I think there's a couple components from actually both companies now. They were outsourced in Mexico, but it's very few items. Most everything's made in the US, which is good. And then we have the military lights back here. We've got the clear marker lights, and coming up the side here, got our billet aluminum fuel doors. We've got, oh, this is kind of cool too. So the texture powder coat here is a little bit different from our standard texture. This is a, there's actually all kinds of variations. This happens to be a combination of our standard texture as well as a wrinkle powder coat, which the customer picked out. So we dialed in everything to match. All of his accessories are all custom matched to that same finish here. Then we've got the oval tail lights, working our way up. He supplied the rims. I don't know the brand, but they are beadlock rims mounted on Toyo 40s by 15.5s. And that's probably about as big as I personally would go. I know there's people calling us every single day asking if they can put 42s on their truck. You can, but you're really limited because you run 42s, you're gonna be rubbing, you're gonna have issues. 40s are about as big as you want to go, and then 15.5s, I would say, depending on the rim setup, like on this rim setup, it's a little bit wider, it works, but on some of them they don't. So there is a 40 by 13.5 20 that fits perfect on this truck. Great way to go. And then we have our rock skids. Now these are a bolt-on design. They just simply bolt on here onto the original aluminum rocker panel protection. As you can see right here, you can see that little thin strip here. That's the original aluminum one, and they bolt right on there. We have two different variations, and then from there we have the standard ones without steps, like this one, and then we also have another one with steps. Now the variations are being, this one is a little bit less expensive. It just simply bolts on, and it's full steel construction. It wraps around underneath, giving that whole corner area a lot of strength. The other one is steel belly pan, where this is integrated into this piece here. It emulates your original rocker panel protection, but it's all steel as a one-piece design, so that's a little bit stronger. Then we also came out with these lights here on the side. They're Baja Design. I think they're like the, oh shoot, what are Squadron Pros? Yep, actually that gives it away right there. I promise I didn't read that. I remembered it right before I read it, but maybe subconsciously I read it and then I called it out and then I saw the name. I don't know, but yeah, those are the Squadron Pros. We've got a couple IR lights up here. IR lights are pretty cool if you're gonna run night vision. You flip those things on and you've got massive amounts of light out there, and you don't have to run your off-road lights. And also with the IR lights, naked eye, you can't see those lights on, which is pretty cool. And then we've got a 50-inch Baja Design Onyx 6, I think is what it's called, light bar. That's one of their high output. That's pretty much the brightest light bar that they have out there. They have their laser beam technology, which kind of sounds funny, laser beams. It's not from Austin Powers. He did not develop that at all. But, and I think that one actually has a little bit more throw as like a pencil beam, but it's not really suited for what we use, where this would be a little bit better. And then you can see D-ring brush guard up here. We've got the airlift hooks up here with the gaskets on there. And then these are all billet steel. We machine those out in-house. Pretty much 99% of everything that we have is manufactured in our facilities in San Diego or Florida in the US, which is nice. And that way we can control quality on it. And we do everything we can to make sure we source US steel. There are a couple items that are almost impossible that we need, that do need to come out of other countries. but it's very few and far between, and it's usually just like specialized steel parts, specialized steel material. But most of it comes from the US. Then we've got our hood scoop, replaced the mesh with stainless steel mesh. We have matching mesh down here, which is kind of cool. You can also powder coat this, which is nice. It has a little bit smaller mesh pattern than the factory one. And then Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar in the front. I think that's a 30. And then we have our Viper front winch bumper, which hands down is my favorite because you've got stops built into here. And when it folds forward, it fully locks out. Let me show you really quick here. So you just fold it forward and it locks out on those stops. I shouldn't say locks out, but it hits those stops. They're rubber stops built in, integrated into the bumper here, and fully locks it out so it can fold forward without hitting the ground like normal brush guards do without any type of stops. So then he did custom LED headlamps up here. We did custom FLIR mount up here, which is forward-looking infrared, which is pretty cool because you can see out, I want to say it's like a quarter mile or so. You're in backcountry driving around windy roads, and it throws up heat signatures. So you can see if there's a deer that's about to jump out from the bushes, or if people are in the bushes about to come out, it registers those heat signatures and throws it up on the monitor on the inside, which is really, really nice to have. And then coming back, oh, I forgot the roof rack and light bar. So obviously we talked about the lights up here, integrated wiring inside here, but this roof rack's awesome. I love that roof rack on the slant back design. It has a really cool, clean look to it. We integrated the light bars into these little pockets in here and ran all the wiring through the roof rack itself, so you can't see any wiring. Everything's pretty much hidden on it. And then we jumped the wiring from the roof rack up to the light bar and brought it down through there. So there's no holes in the truck. There's nothing crazy as far as routing the wires incorrectly. Everything's done properly. And then we also replaced the mirrors too with the updated mirrors. Just keeps on going and going. We've got the all the accessories powder coated, stainless steel bolts, and I think that's about it. I'm sure I'm missing something on the outside, but let's jump inside. So we're sitting in this amazing 2001 H1 Hummer. As you can tell, it doesn't look like a 2001. And the reason for that is we've got our full Predator Alpha Dash kit in place. Now, our kit is different from the factory Alpha Dash because we use fiberglass components. Everything is remolded out of fiberglass as opposed to the factory plastic pieces, which will crack out over time. You'll have cracks across here and kind of separates and the material starts to rip apart. The plastic with heat over time does have some inherent issues as far as failing, where fiberglass doesn't. The stuff is just so much stronger, and just you can throw a lot more heat at it, it's not going to fail on you. So customer decided to go with predominantly a black interior with the silver accents. We have the factory color matched Alpha paint coat here on the dash pieces, which matches the factory stuff. But then we did full black leather, and we did green stitching to tie in the outside exterior color into the inside. So it's kind of, you may not be able to see it in the video, but it has a really cool look to it. Very clean, and it gives a lot of symmetry to the interior design, working with the exterior as well. So up here we replaced the stereo head unit with an Alpine 9-inch stereo. You've got full functionality on here where you can actually control your lights. There's so many different functions that you can do on the Alpine nowadays. So that's one of our favorite stereos out there. And then we have the factory AC controls down here. We've got our CTIS system moved up to the front panel, which makes sense because you can control it and you've got a nice layout of all your gauges. We replaced the original gauges with autometer gauges. I forgot the model name on these, but they're all blacked out, and it actually matches with the CTIS gauge, which is kind of hard to find. So that looks really good together. We also threw in a pyrometer and boost gauge down below here. We've got our window switches over here. Obviously our factory shifter is unchanged. You can go to the alpha shifter. It does make sense because logically your transmission shifter should be closer to you as a driver here, and your transfer case on the other side, where AM General did fix that in later model years. Specifically the last model here, the Alpha, they switched the controls around, which does make sense because occasionally valet is going to grab this first shifter here, which is your transfer case controls, and try to shift it into drive that way. So logically it does make sense, and you can switch it over and convert it over on like the Duramax converted trucks if you want to, but I still like the original location. It's kind of cool. So then we have our check engine lights up here, as well as integrated turn signals, and it's pretty cool because we use these really nice LED lights that match the stainless steel hardware up here, and they actually look like bolts, so it has kind of a very clean look to it. The other cool thing about this truck is the Morel sound system. So top of the line Morel sound system. I think they're out of Italy. Really nice stuff. It's really cool looking in my opinion because it's not over the top. Like, it doesn't have an adolescent look with all kinds of flashy colors on there. It has a very clean kind of military look to it, has a nice cover plate. So I dig these Morels. They're really kind of my favorite speaker now. Also on this specific truck, it did not come with an overhead console right here. Now there's some of our customers absolutely hate the overhead console. I really like it. It has a very cockpit feel to it. It does make it a little bit narrower for visibility here, but it's really not obstructing your visibility in any way. But people do feel that it does become a little more claustrophobic. Years ago I used to fly planes here and there, and I kind of like that cockpit feel, and it kind of gives me that feel here because I've got switches up here. I've got all of my instrumentation down here. I just dig that feel to it. So we did add this for our customer. Again, black leather with the green stitching. We also did full suede up on the headliners, which has kind of a nice little contrast. And we also tied that into the door panels. Let me jump out now, and I'm gonna show you the door panels as well as the seats, kind of show you what we did with the seats, with the Recaro front seats, as well as integrating them into the factory rear seats. Okay, so we talked about the headliner in here. Again, well thought out. We brought in the headliner material, this ultra suede material down here into the door panels. It's in a very low traffic area, so it doesn't wear as well as leather. Leather's a lot more robust material than this ultra suede. So we put that in a location where it's not gonna get a lot of wear use. And then now you can see the green stitching here, and that green stitching is tied into the exterior paint. You can also see the square pattern here. That ties into the seat. So everything's really well thought out where everything kind of works together. Coming into the seat, you can see up here, we have the Recaro seats. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to move Jason around to the other side so you can get a better shot. The sun was screwing up his shot, apparently. He's kind of a, I don't know, artistic little feller. But anyways, so we're inside the truck now. You saw the square pattern on the door panels. And again, we tied that into the seats as well. This is a Recaro seat. In the front, we put Recaros, much more comfortable than the factory seats. However, it comes with a fair amount of work. There's some body pieces that we have to cut out and reshape the body panels down below just to get this guy to fit in place. It's just a massively wide seat. And then on top of that, we have to shave down the foam a little bit and then full custom wrap on here with brand new leather, custom pattern in the center here with the green stitching. And then also what's really cool is Roy went through on the rear two seats and tied them into the front seats. So you can take a look at this Recaro seat. Has a very distinct look. Doesn't look anything like the factory seats or the factory rear seats. However, Roy ripped the factory rear seats apart, recut everything, restitched everything, did an amazing job, and now they look like they came out of the Recaro factory. So take a look at these rear seats. I'm gonna jump back here. All right, so I'm in the back seat now. As you can see, these things look like Recaros. You've got the same pattern. He cut this out right here, so this is a completely different insert here, emulating that Recaro seat here with the side bolsters. They're kind of protrudes out a little bit more, as well as the side pieces here and the front, I guess, knee panel area, under leg section. So he did an awesome job. This thing looks like factory Recaro seats in the front, which is pretty cool. Here's the other reason I really like the Morel speakers. It has just a really clean, functional look. It's nothing over the top. Again, I mentioned juvenile. A lot of the subs out there have that kind of juvenile look, kind of like something that I'd want to be running in my Honda Civic when I was 16 years old, when I think I stole my parents' JL home stereo system. Sorry, Dad and Mom. They eventually got it back, I think. But anyways, this has a really clean look to it. As you can see, it has just it's just simple. It's not over the top. It's not this massive box with, you know, 2 15s or something like that in there. It has a really clean, quality look, and I think that's what people are looking for right now. They're not looking for that massive over the top, you know, stereo system boom box look to it. So we can definitely do that. We can do some really cool stuff, but I really like the Morel speaker design and the symmetry that these subs have with the rest of the component speakers up above. All right, folks, thanks for watching. I definitely enjoyed sharing one of my probably top 3 or 4 trucks that we've ever built, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I think there's a bell that Jason wants you to hit. I don't know what that does still to this day, but thanks for watching. See you soon.